So, John Tomaszewski, are you there and can you start?
Yes, I am. And boy, what a hard act to follow.
Yeah, no, that was a super talk.
But we'll give it a shot. And I also agree with something he said. When I do these talks, it's amazing because I can read a lot about this, different things that you've had me look up. But giving the talk, you really have to go through a lot of sources. And I put in the chat for anybody who's interested in cutting the cord or looking at different alternatives. Every article that I read, which is probably close to over 100, I'm guessing, for you to go through and take a look at. So with that, I'm just going to start the video. Oops, wrong one.
Let me just add, I put the overview article into the note that I sent out, which unfortunately I didn't get to do until last night, but that is a good overview for anybody that doesn't want to read 100 and just wants to read one.
Yes, out of all of them, I thought that one, for somebody who really wants to cut the cord, it goes through step by step what you got to do and where to go. And I'm going to add my 2 cents now with a little screen. Let's hope this works. Okay.
We see it.
Okay, go here, cut the cord. I'm going to start off with probably one of my favorite songs when it comes to the availability of channels, which is Bruce Springsteen's 57 channels and there's nothing on. So with that, the 2 things that I put on there, one's in the chat, that's a flipboard of all the different articles, and the slides are also available if anybody wants that. But let's go into a little history first. I can still remember, I couldn't have been more than 2 or 3, and having this box delivered to the house, and I kept asking my mother, what is that? What is that? And that was when TVs were like a piece of furniture that you opened up the front and you could close it off. And ever since then, I've kind of been glued to the thing. Back then, you had to watch the channels manually and change them manually, had to get up. So a lot of times there'd be a fight between me and my brothers as to how lazy we were and who was going to get up to change the channel to something we wanted to watch. Back in Michigan, we had 4 channels, one of which was Canadian, and that was your choices. I don't know if you guys remember, but if you wanted to watch the 6 o'clock news, you had to be there at 6 o'clock. Or you had to rush home on Sunday night to see the Sunday night movie. And then color came in and kind of changed the whole perspective. Probably one of the most influential things that happened is why we have such a choice was Universal Studios, Inc., when they called it the Betamax case, which was a Supreme Court decision. Before that, the person who had the copyright could decide when and where anybody could watch anything. After that, because of a recording and individual copies for the personal use of a time shift, you wouldn't not constitute a copyright infringement, but a fair use. So what I learned after 2 months of looking into this and trying to figure out ways to save money, I actually ended up spending another $11 a month. And I'll go through why that happened. The other thing I learned was that there's more streaming services now than there are grains of sands on the beach. And I also found out that some streaming services actually offer storage recording capability. However, you can't fast forward through the commercials, which is one of the reasons I love my TiVo, because there's supposedly 15 minutes of commercials for every hour of TV programming. There's now first run movies are being offered on streaming platforms, which could be a little bit because of COVID, but I think some of the plans are to keep that on. So when it comes out in the movie house, they're offering first runs on HBO or Showtime. Almost all the services that you can look into offer a free trial, and a lot of them have deals. And what I found the best way to really get into what is offered by HBO, Showtime, and the other plethora of channels is to rotate. So you pay for one for a month or two, you watch all the stuff that they've got, which could be TV series or movies or whatever. And then by that time, you pretty much saw everything you want. You change to another one and you can have another perspective of what they're offering. I think Amazon Prime with their streaming service, which is basically free once you paid the Prime, is one of the best ones that I use, and I find it have the most interesting selection. I will show you how I did save $70 on cable towards the end of this demonstration. What I found out was, I think I stole the term, and it's called the ecosystem, which in general is a complex network of interconnected systems. And what I mean by that is everybody has a different ecosystem when there comes to TV. It could be sports, could be documentaries, educational, or a lot of varied other things. So I once had a friend who, I thought it was interesting. This was when I just got out of college and started working. And every time I went to his house, his TV was on. It didn't matter, morning, noon, night. And so one time I asked him, I said, "Why is your TV always on, Rich?" And he says, "TV, that's my friend." So I think we all grew up in the baby boom generation, kind of addicted to some form of TV, be it news, sports, or whatever. So what about cord cutting? As you can see, this one, let me make it a little bigger just for a second, but you can see that's Generation Z, millennials, Generation X, baby boomers, and the silent generation. It shows the number that are, the blue is the number subscribing to a video streaming service. The red is those that plan to cut the cord, which would be, what that means is the cable company that you use for it. And the black is subscribed to a cable company. So as you'll see, we still have quite a bit to go. And here's some statistics that have come up. These may be a little old, so it probably is a little change, but there are 86 million households subscribed to pay TV. 18 million households are considering cutting, and 56 million cord cutters and cord nevers in the US. And I have a feeling that's a lot of the younger generation who, if you ever go anywhere, they're usually if they're waiting for some time, they're usually watching some TV program on their phones. 195 million watch pay TV, cable, satellite, or telco. National TV advertising fell 9%. I believe this is in June, but I think that's 2 years ago, to 3.2 billion. And 77.5% of all consumers agree with the statement, "I'd like to choose only the channels I want," which I think is my big gripe with Verizon, is out of the whatever it is, 130 channels that they give me, there are probably less than 10 that I watch. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. So let me get it this way. This might be better. There we go. So there is a way, and I can't do it, and I couldn't test it because I live in a valley. So connecting to it with an antenna is impossible for me. Now, supposedly, and maybe if someone has an antenna, there's 73 channels in the New York area that are available, which I found interesting. And according to this chart, which is on antennaweb.com, it'll tell you what channels you should be able to go and the strength of whether you'd be able to get them. And again, because I'm in a valley, I don't get anything. But you put in your zip code and it will basically tell you, this one says up to 84 channels from 23 over the air stations. So there's channels within the channels, and it will tell you the different strength. Another one that I found is called tvfool.com, and it actually shows you a graph which basically says I can get 1 or 2 channels, if at all, from the area that I'm in. And that's that one. Now, again, the reason I can't do it is because the TV stations are all broadcasting out of New York, and I've got the Watchung Mountains between me and the TV stations. Now, the alternatives are you can purchase an antenna, which is the cheapest way. You can also purchase a smart device, which would be a TV, a computer, streaming device, a DVR, a phone or tablet, or a smart DV, and you can purchase services from that. But the big thing is you're going to have to be able to change your viewing habits. The big one for me was I really don't like to watch commercials, so I usually try to record everything and then play it back. And if, again, that guide that I'll show you just a quick view of it. This was the best article I found out of the 100 or so articles that I read, and it basically goes through and shows you what the top streaming services are, with what whether you got cloud DVR, can you do multiple streams, means that if you have it, you can record more than one program. And there's always upgrade packages, and you'll notice the bottom line there is each one of these services has a free 7-day trial, which I will go over later. But this article is the one that you really should take time to look at. So there's a few other alternatives. There's a lot of alternatives out there, and the network channel selection. There's also specialty documentaries, movies, and educational ones. And you get Netflix, and the other choice that you would have is, which I subscribe to, is DVDs from Netflix. And that way I get the current movies. Well, I should say within 6 months to a year, movies that have come on the market, rather than what's available on any of the HBOs or Showtimes, which is usually 2 years or more, unless it's one of those previews that I talked about. Here is 3 different scenarios that they go through, which are, here's one. If you go on YouTube, which now offers 85 channels, that'll cost you $64 a month. And it does have sports, and there is no annual contract. Hulu, which seems to be a big one, is $64 advertised price, but monthly cost with a DVR added. There's no league networks and does not offer a lot of the capabilities as compared to the traditional service, which they estimate cost $109. I don't think anybody around here is paying that little for their service. If they are, I can mention that later. So a stat that I found is if you subscribe to all the flagship streaming services to put together a program for yourself, your bill would come out to about $92 a month, according to Bloomberg. That's just about on par with what the typical TV package comes to. And again, because we're in the New York area, we pay more. So how do you access streaming? Now, streaming means that you're basically connecting to the internet. Now, I believe, I don't even know if they make TVs that aren't smart anymore. At least I haven't seen one in a long time. So you can have a TV or a lot of DVD players also come with what's called smart. What that means is you have a connection to the internet or Wi-Fi nowadays, so you don't even have to run a cable. A lot of the devices come with Wi-Fi enabled, which means you're connecting to your router and to what's ever out there. There's a digital media service, which is Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, and Google Chromecast, which offers the same thing, and you can plug those into your HDMI jack on the back of your TV, and that will give you all of these smart services. Now, you can also do most of this stuff on your PC, tablets, or phone.
Yeah.
Is there a question? I'm sorry, was there a question? No.
I think it was somebody who was unmuted and didn't realize it.
Oh, okay. The cable provide, then there's the DVR, which basically is a TiVo or the recorders that they give you. And devices offer all the services. Almost all the devices that I've come up, you can get all of the different services, whether it be HBO, Showtime, the smart TVs there. The one thing that I put on here was if you don't have it and you can get a device that you can plug into your phone or tablet and put whatever on your tablet on the large screen, your TV, through the HDMI. And as you'll notice, there's also a power connection so that you won't have to worry about your phone or tablet running out of juice while you're watching a program. And this is just a small sample of some of the stuff that's out there. I couldn't even find a number of different things that you can get nowadays. But again, they all offer mostly at least a week of trial. On Amazon, this is if you want to get some of these channels, it gives you a price. And as you'll notice, it has quite a selection itself. What's interesting is no matter where you get the service from, like I have HBO, I can use that anywhere. So it's on my tablet. If I go to someone else's house, I can connect to it through their smart TV. That's why some of it's a problem. My daughter uses some of my services, and all you need is a sign on to get on, and some of them will only allow you 1 or 2 people. But other than that, if you're not watching at the same time, you can share services. Here's my bill, of which I fight every year or every other year at least to get the cheapest amount. And as you'll notice, because I use TiVo, I have to get what's called a cable card, which allows me to connect, and that cost me $5 as opposed to, I believe it's $8 for their DVR. Now, the TiVo, which I love, what it happens is it offers the best, I think, the best selection of searches, so that if you want to find something, it gives you a whole different environment that's pretty good. And they usually last about 5 or 6 years, and I end up paying about $400 to $500. And the reason it's usually a deal where they will charge you, I forget the price, I think it's $14 a month if you don't get the plan. Yeah, it's $15. It's on there that I just noticed. So, but I usually get the package that allows me to use it as long as I keep the TiVo. And then on the bottom, you'll notice that Netflix, I have 3 DVDs, which cost me about $20 a month. And so I usually will get 3 a week, which is a lot cheaper than going to the movie. Now, of all of them, the best one overall is for live TV is Hulu. The cheapest one is AT&T, but I understand that might change with them selling out their movie section. And the best one for sports is Sling TV. But the nice thing about all of these things is you basically can cancel any time, although some of them do offer a deal if you decide to take it for a 6-month or a yearly charge. Like when I was doing this, I saw an offer for HBO. Instead of $15 a month, I got it for $10 a month, as long as I did it for 6 months. And again, here's just that chart that you can go back to that's in the article that I suggested. But again, the big important thing is the free TV. Of interest, which I found, is YouTube is now offering a TV service, which I didn't really get into. If you're into sports, this would be the best streaming sports. Fubo for overall sports, Sling for sports add-ons. Excuse me, the best sports and entertainment is YouTube TV. Best college sports is Hulu. And the best basic sport lineage, which is probably the cheapest, is AT&T TV. And again, I have that arrow there pointing down above cloud DVR, because what that means again is you don't have to do the recording. The recording's actually done somewhere in that box that we saw the joke on. And but the problem with any of the streaming services, which is why I don't like streaming, is if you're getting a channel through streaming, there's no way to fast forward through the commercials. I just want to, I like documentaries, so I thought I'd put a little thing. All the major streaming services, HBO, Showtime, and those carry a documentary category. Great Courses offers what's called Great Courses Plus, and that's $10 a month, and that's their thousands of courses that are given by professors from various universities, and they're upgrading it now, although I'm not 100% sure what they're doing, to include all kinds of other sources in their selection. So for $10 a month, I usually take 2 or 3 courses during the year. The courses could be anything from three sessions to a lot of them are in the 20 sessions. So you can become an expert on almost anything. YouTube offers a huge selection of documentaries and shorts on various items. And then you also have the Smithsonian channel. I think I'd just like to quickly show you, where is it? The Great Courses. Some of the stuff that's offered through them is, you'll see they have all kinds of categories. Oops, didn't want to do that. Back again. This is the ones that I'm currently watching. These are the ones that I want to watch. They give you recommendations, which is kind of neat, based on what you've watched. And so there's all kinds of the Federalist Papers things. And the selection is amazing, whether you like cooking or history or food and wine, health, economics and finance, you name it, they've got a category. Hobby and leisure, ultraviolet, music and fine arts, etc., science, travel, etc. Go back. Now, I told you I was going to tell you that I actually didn't end up cutting the cord. And what had happened was we own a cabin, and we had Spectrum TV, which was costing $90 a month. We got rid of the $90 and now only pay $70 for the internet. And that's basically because there isn't any other selection but Spectrum in that area. One thing I want to mention is, which I never understood, it started with an internet speed of 50, went to 100, now I'm at 300. And to be quite honest with you, I never noticed any improvement or just any really problem with 50 as opposed to 300. It seemed like everything worked fine at no matter what speed I was at. But for some reason now I've got 300, which said that I think it's more from their side that they want everybody to be on 300 from Verizon. Now, again, I mentioned this before. Once you purchase, whether it's HBO or Showtime, you can use that anywhere. So on the TV that I use a Fire Stick on, all I have to do is go into a place where you go on the internet, and then they'll send you a sign-on number, which appears on, like if I go on HBO, the sign-on number will ask a 4-digit number. Once I put that in, that TV, or the Fire Stick, actually can then watch, whether it's Showtime or the History Channel or whatever else I'm paying for on one of my services from anywhere. The Prime membership fee, except for the fee, again, I mentioned this earlier, that that's a lot of free content. I use a Fire Stick from Amazon to connect to the internet. And I can also connect my PC to the TV. Right now, I've got, I tested when I was doing this, I got HBO for 6 months for $70 and Showtime for 2 months for $2, which I thought was pretty good. I can access my TiVo, which is in my house, from anywhere in the world. So if I've recorded something and I'm either at the cabin or, for that matter, a hotel room in China, I can watch anything that's on my TiVo, which I think is kind of nice advantage of having the TiVo. Verizon and Amazon, HBO, Disney, and several other channels that I get. And for music, I have Spotify, and I usually listen to that on Alexa at the cabin. So I did save basically $90 by cutting the cord. And that's basically the title. So with that, I will take any questions, that I had, that we may have. Let me just get rid of this. Stop the share. There we go.
Hey, John, Mitch put a query into the chat room, which basically appreciated all that you're doing and all the alternatives that we had, but he ends it by saying, but one issue that is important to me, the hassle factor. I want it to be easy. So what would be the easiest choice for someone who wants to cut the cord?
Well, I think the Fire Stick, which I have, is probably the easiest. You plug it into your HDMI and you plug the other end into the internet, and then you have to select that HDMI channel, and it basically comes up with a screen full of choices that you can get. That would be the easiest way to cut the cord.
Okay. Mitch, do you want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, if I can find the darn mute button. Hey, yeah, thanks, John. I'm just simply saying that, we don't want to be tinkering with all this stuff. We have cable, we have a huge capacity DVR that we're always, well, for instance, we got about 35 Jeopardies saved up right now. So we're always way behind on those kind of things. Anyway, it's just a matter of, everybody's different, but in our case, not having to think about it and do all sorts of calculations and then revisit the issue every year when everything changes. And so we're just trying to do something simple. That was my question. And thank you so much for the Fire Stick advice, John.
Yeah, the one thing I might want to add is the Fire Stick, again, comes with its own remote control, but it's a very simple remote control. There aren't a lot of buttons for you to even have to memorize. And from that point alone, I think it's probably one of the easiest ways to handle it. And I'm sure Google's Chrome, I forget what it's called, but the other ones are as easy to use. It's amazing how easy they are to plug in and get started.
Are you kidding me? I really love the 100-button remote control.
Just a point here, the Roku, I think, is usually rated the top for all the streaming devices.
Yes, that's again a matter of preference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Costs are the same no matter what.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I said the costs of the Roku stick or Amazon Fire are essentially the same.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Mark Pincus?
Yeah, I have a question. For those of us like me, who are not as competent technologically as you are, John, I had my son-in-law buy the Roku, which we put on one of our 3 TVs. So we can watch Netflix and Prime on only one TV. But to me, I pay $200 a month on the average for Fios. And we get the ability to DVR 6 channels maximum, which is good for me and my wife because we each want to DVR different things. So my question to you is, if we want to have that ability to DVR that many channels, and is there anyone that can figure out how to do it on a specific TV? Do I call somebody from Best Buy? Do I call my son-in-law to see if he can do it for me? And what happens if you have a power outage? Do you have to, who do you call to get everything back?
Well,
It
you've
sounds
asked
like a stupid question, but
you asked a lot of questions. Number one, most of these things with the power outage, for example, if I'm TiVoing something, when the power goes out, it will just you won't get what was playing when the power went out, but when it comes back on and loads itself up, it will continue from that point on. So that's the answer to the one question. And as far as I'm not sure of what your other question was with the 6 programs that you want to tape, I guess. Tape's a bad term, but record. What exactly is it you're trying to do with that?
How do you retain that ability to DVR about 5 or 6 different programs at a time? Say 9 o'clock, you have 5 or 6 different programs on TV, different channels, and still use the streaming services and only pay like you $100 a month instead of me $200 a month.
Well, again, the problem that you're paying 200 is I was very selective about what channels I was taking. So there are less channels. Don't forget, they're out there to sell you everything that there is. Now, I know that if, for example, that I'm not a big sports fan, so I don't have any of the sports channels, which are expensive. Those can be $40 or $50 alone just for the sports channel.
Yeah, I get the Yes channel.
Yeah, so that's probably costing you a nice chunk of that extra.
Well,
So
no, that's part of the Fios.
Yeah, yes,
Right.
the Yes channel and MSG, which are the 2 that I get, they're part of my normal cable package. But that doesn't cover all sports. It covers baseball and hockey, and it covers the teams
Correct.
I'm most interested in, which is fine for me. If you want coverage of all games all the time, then you have to get extra sports channels.
right, I'm not familiar with the sports channel. Now, my son-in-law, any time of day or night, all 3 TVs are on some kind of sports channel.
So, but the streaming services don't let you DVR. Is that generally correct?
Well, no, you can DVR the streaming service, but the reason I would want to DVR it, wait a minute, I got to think about that. No, you can't, because it goes through my Fire Stick. Although I could probably figure out a way.
YouTube TV gives you ability to, I don't know how many, but you can DVR lots of stuff at once.
That's on the cloud, though, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so it's on the cloud. What I was trying to say is all these services allow you to do that, to record. I mean, not all of them, but most of them have a recording on the cloud. But the problem is you're still streaming. So if you're going to watch a program with commercials, you're going to get the commercials. There's no way around it.
Yeah, that's the part that I find the most beneficial of the DVR is if I'm aware of what I want to watch, and even if it's a sporting event, I start it. If it's a hockey game for me, it's easy because I start a half an hour late, and by the end of the game, I'm caught up to real time, and I can fast forward through all the commercials. And I would really, it's so much more efficient way to watch that, I don't really want to give that up.
Right, me neither. That's why I keep my TiVo, because I keep Verizon. Actually, if it wasn't for the fact that I can fast forward through commercials, I would probably get rid of Verizon and just use the internet. which, by the way, I use up at the cabin, and I don't even miss the stations that I'm not getting. So there's just so much on nowadays. I don't know how people can watch all of it.
Well, even recording, I find I record things that I really have a good intention to watch, but I never get around to it. And then all of a sudden my recording space is filled up and I have to go delete things.
If you
Right.
record something on YouTube TV, when you play it back, you have the ability to skip commercials. You advance 15 or 20 seconds at a time.
Well, that's interesting. I'll have to have to get my free trial and give it a shot. It does it have what's the availability of stations? Like, can you get HBO and Showtime and all that stuff or not?
You can get HBO and Showtime and all the others on a subscription basis.
Oops, what did I do here? Oops, sorry. Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, there were a couple
Oh, yeah.
more. Roger Burns.
Yes, hi, John.
Hi.
I'm going to take you back to the days when you had 4 channels. I have a beach house and I have FiOS here at the beach house, internet and cable. And someone told me what I do is I suspend it over the winter. But someone told me if I come down and unscrew the cable wire from the back of wherever it is into and put it into the antenna jack on the back of the TV, I'd get TV. And to my amazement, I got 4 channels, 2, 4, 7, and 9. But listen to this. I was searching through to see which channels I got, and I got channel 2, and I sat down, and when the commercial ended, it went black. So I only get commercials on channel 2, but 4, 7, and 9, I can get whatever's on. So if I'm here for a weekend in February or March, before things are turned on, I'm getting free TV, which a little painful, but it's better than none.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said when I'm up at the cabin, with the Fire Stick. You may want to think about a Fire Stick.
I did get one, but I didn't realize that I had to have the internet on to make it work.
Yes. Oh, that's true. You do have to have the internet. So,
Right. But I use
not-
it up north when I'm up in New Providence. Yeah.
right. Yep.
This thing, for those that don't really, it's iterative in learning the stuff. And for those of us that don't really know a lot about it, it is very complicated. It is not easy to use. Just because there are so many alternatives, just to find out the one that, or the combination of ones that best match what you want, it takes quite a bit of effort.
Well, just talking about complicated, at the beach, I had Optimum for a number of years. And in order to suspend it, you had to dismantle all the equipment and take it and turn it into them.
Oh,
And then in the springtime, you had to go down and wait online to get it back again. And then one year they gave me a router that was different than the one I had the year before. So it didn't fit the holes I had in the wall. I had to re-snake pipes or wires. So FiOS, at least you just make a phone call and you tell them what date to turn it back on and you're good. So anyway.
okay. Bill Tittle.
Yeah, so the most important thing to me is not having commercials. I have a smart TV, but I don't understand the Roku, Fire Stick, and so forth. You tell me I just buy a little device and I stick it in the back of the TV. Is that what?
And the internet. However, if you've got a smart TV, I'm guessing that will probably do most of the stuff that a Fire Stick or the other devices will do. You should be able to get HBO on your smart TV just by going to the internet.
Okay.
But I like the Fire Stick, and it was for the $30 or $40. It has an easy remote. And it I don't know. I just use it. There is some stuff that you can't get now that I think about it, and I can't remember what it is off the bat that I can get with the Fire Stick that I can't get with the smart TV.
Well, it
Okay.
seems that
Thanks, John.
They all have a little bit of difference.
Peculiarity.
So hard is to find one that has everything you want, and otherwise you need more than one service. But also, I have a Roku. I really haven't used it very much. I got it as a gift. I have used it and played with it, but my understanding is that I can watch many TV shows, not necessarily all, but I can't watch them at the time, which is fine. But I can't watch them at the time with their first broadcast. It has to. It's kind of like I'm watching a recording at a later point in time. I think. I'm not sure of that, but that was my understanding. Can you comment on that, John?
Yeah, I've heard that too, but I believe that that's not the Roku or the Fire Stick so much as the service that is being offered, because it's just a delivery device. It doesn't
Okay.
decide what you can watch and what you can't watch. And so if you're getting Hulu, like I think Hulu is a good example, which I've never used, but that would be an example where it comes on regular channel, Friends or something, and then you have to wait a day to watch it on that.
That's what I've heard.
Because they want you to watch the commercials.
Sure, yeah, but most of the time that's fine from my standpoint. I'll also comment that my son and daughter-in-law with her family share a number of these services. Like they have Prime and they let his in-laws and his cousins use it, and then somebody else has various other things, so that they manage it carefully. And as long as you keep less than, I think, 10 users or so for most of them, you can limit the cost in that way.
Right. And the other thing that I want to just repeat is you should try some of these services. Almost all of them have a free trial period of at least 7 days, if not a month, and see if it's offering something that you would like to get. Now, the one last thing that I'm going to say, if there's still more questions, I'll answer them.
There's still a couple more questions.
Okay, let's go with that. And I want to just end it with something.
Okay, Rich Yeager.
Yeah, I want to get a little more concrete understanding of some of the things you said. You mentioned the Fire Stick. You plug it into the HDMI, and I understand that is the
Video input.
On the TV.
Right.
Or maybe somewhere else, if you have a DVD player, that's a possibility also. And then you said, and then I guess the other end into the internet. Now,
right.
You say hook it up to the internet. I'm picturing you need a physical cable.
Oh, wait a minute. That's wrong. I'm sorry. Let me stop you there. It's wireless.
Okay.
It has a wireless connection.
Okay. So
you need an internet service to your house, but you don't necessarily need the cable.
But you do have a power plug. That's what I confused there for a second. It's just a typical power plug that you get with any device nowadays, with the USBs on both sides, small one and a large one. And then when you plug it in, it's going to ask you what your router password and that kind of thing is, and you should be pretty well set.
Did you say the Fire Stick has a separate power connection? Yes,
it needs power, and like I said, it's a USB. You know how when you like it, it's the same kind of power plug that you would have on a non Apple phone, meaning it's got two USBs on it. You plug it into one of the adapters, and it gets power that way.
It's like your phone charger.
Right.
Okay, so where do you plug that in on yours to get power?
Well, you plug it into the wall, any wall socket.
So okay.
Does plug it in the same place where your TV is plugged in? Just add an extender if you need more than outlets.
So you're talking about a regular AC outlet.
Yes.
Right.
And does the Fire Stick come with that adapter?
I believe it does. It's been a while since I put mine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
The Roku does, because I have one.
But you can use any adapter. You use one for your phone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got that for my phone, but I'd have to get another one anyway.
No, I believe it comes with it. I'm almost positive it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come with it because they have fairly high power requirement. It's more than just the normal low amperage connector.
Some of the TVs also carry a USB port, which you can plug it into also.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the
Um,
TV provides power.
I understand from what you're saying that, okay, you get the Fire Stick. Now you still need to get one of those services to run through the Fire Stick. Have I got the right picture there? Like your Amazon Prime or your Hulu or something like that?
Right. Again, I have everything, so I don't know if there's something I'm getting for free. I feel bad about that, but what I said before is a lot of times, like I have Verizon, and when I was up at the cabin and I wanted the History Channel, I had to, when I tried to get into it, it asked me to get online, and I would go online and it would give me a 4-digit code that I had to plug into the device to get the History Channel. So it's fairly simple.
Okay,
And
so
and there are a myriad of free channels available on any of its sticks, Roku or Fire Stick. If you just go through and search channels, you go nuts with the number.
Yeah,
okay,
there's
well,
too many
that's
choices. You can spend an hour figuring out what you want to watch, and then you don't have the hour to watch anymore.
one more thing. Now you mentioned, as some people have mentioned, being able to skip the commercials is very important. So I'm picturing I would need something like your TiVo in combination with the Fire Stick to be able to record it and then skip the commercials. Is that right? And how do you did you buy your TiVo, and how do you hook that up? Sorry, several questions there all sort of merged together.
Well, that's the problem with most streaming services, is that when you stream. Now, I don't know if there's a way to record through a DVR. Maybe someone else knows that, because you're streaming. So you may be able to do it if you have a USB. I haven't done it, but the problem is the TiVo has a cable connection. I don't think it has an input for a internet. I can check real quick if you want me to, but that's part of the problem. It's connected to the
That's the
cable.
primary reason that I haven't been really excited about cutting the cord, is because with the DVR, with my FiOS service, I can fast forward through the commercials. And as long as I remember to, if it's something that's time dependent, as long as I remember to start recording on time, I can fast forward through and just start watching later. If I'm watching a news program, I record it. And if it's a 6 o'clock news, I start watching at 6:15. And if I skip all the commercials, I'm done just about at the same time that it's over. But that's the primary reason why I haven't seriously explored cutting the cord, because I really like that. I mean, especially because you see if you watch any of the same news programs, they just show the commercials over and over again, and it's such a waste of time.
Right.
I hear you, Tom. I feel the same way.
And I feel the same way too. I hate commercials, and that's why won't get rid of my TiVo unless I can stream and get rid of the commercials.
And I
Hey,
don't.
John, what Rich was actually asking is, do you make house calls?
Sure.
Well, that would certainly be great. Plus my daughter-in-law, or maybe my son. So I guess what you put on your TiVo these days is actually coming through a cable service that you still have.
Right. Although the TiVo does have a smart TV, I'm just trying to think why I never used it. You can do like TiVo even has its own no, because I've tried it. TiVo offers a service also that shows all kinds of channels that are on right now. Okay, but you can't go through the commercials, and it does something like warn you when a commercial's coming up, like 10 seconds before, and then you watch the commercial, then it's off. So it doesn't allow you to record those types of things, which which is the reason that I have a TiVo. Otherwise, I wouldn't need it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you much, John. Great.
Okay, two more questions. Adrian Hartman.
Yes, I was just going to offer some additional information. Many of the things were already mentioned about the Roku or the Amazon products. I have a Roku, and it's very reliable. It does plug into the HDMI, and it can come as a stick and then be wirelessly connected to the internet. Or it can also, as a higher end product, come as a box, and that has an internet connection as well, so that you can actually have a hardwired connection to it. I think one of the reasons for utilizing the streaming services is a lot of original content is being created by those streaming channels as they become popular. And as we go through the annual awards more and more, some of that original content is working itself into some of the best awards of the year for TV type content. So we've enjoyed having Amazon Prime, having Netflix, and also if you donate to PBS, there's a Channel 13 show, and it has a great deal of content to it. All three of those are very rich in content and including a lot of original content. So it supplements our FiOS service. We minimize the movie content on FiOS so that we just get the basic things that we want and to utilize its recording capability, but then try to get the variety of content through the streaming services that we subscribe to.
I would agree with that philosophy. That seems to work. That I'm not ready to get rid of the FiOS service, primarily because of the fast forwarding issue. And then I don't get any HBO or anything through FiOS. I watch movies, which we don't do all that often, through either Prime or Disney Plus, or something else.
But
Disney Plus as a freebie when I renewed my cable contract for a year, so that's how I got used to that.
Yeah, and don't forget, all these things come with a free trial. So what you can do is go for the free trial, or just pay for a month or two, and then you can go through all the stuff that they have, you can binge, so to speak, on one of the shows that are offered.
One other thing, a lot of the streaming services offer a higher price plan, which doesn't have the commercials. Like Hulu, if you get the regular Hulu, it has commercials. You buy Hulu Plus, you don't have the commercials.
Okay.
Yep, that's something I forgot.
Okay, next, and I think the last one for now is Griff. I think you're muted, Griff.
Yes, I had been quiet just to make sure I didn't laugh too much at what you were saying.
Thanks, Griff.
What's been your success with getting reliable internet on top of all of this?
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is having my Zoom sessions get cut off because of the internet getting disconnected from Zoom every once in a while.
I think that might be how far are you from your wireless router?
Oh, I'm very close. Upstairs is reached by my running a cable through the attic and then down to the television in the bedroom. So I actually get a pretty clean signal there. And all in all, I think things are going fine, but I don't know how much to blame it on Comcast and how much to blame it on just general problems with the internet.
Griff, if I can make a suggestion, just before I was coming on, I was testing my connection and I was being dropped like every 2 minutes. And so I tested it and my throughput was like at 9 or 18. So what I did was I redid, shut my router off and counted to 10, and then shut my iPad off and counted to 10, and it went up to 300, and I had no problems just by the luck, because I had to give this talk, and it's the last thing I wanted was to have it.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to be running very well today. I'm not having any trouble with Zoom cutting out. But
I
it's-
have FiOS and have had it for a while, and I think it's the 100 megabit service. I forget because sometimes they upgrade me without even telling me. But I haven't had any. I mean, I can't say it's never happened in dropping Zoom. I do a fair amount of Zooms, and yeah, I mean, I would guess 99 out of 100, I don't have a problem. And when I do have a problem, I'm not necessarily sure it's at my end. But I haven't found the internet service to be an issue. And I don't watch that many movies, but I've never found one that's interrupted.
All right. I was just curious. Frankly, I hardly watch television that much, except for 60 Minutes and Sunday morning.
Well, that's it. But I haven't been having, I haven't been losing the connection, hardly at all. I won't say it never happens. We have one more question from Mark Edelman.
Yeah, no, I just want to comment that Griff and everybody, you're forgetting to blame Zoom. I think you should blame Zoom a lot of the time.
Okay.
When when your connection falters, it's probably because they have congestion.
Okay.
And so, don't forget that, so that you can't fix that. That's all.
All right.
And I've got one other comment. I have tried every universal remote that there is, and almost Logitech. I've tried a couple of those, and some cheap ones, and I finally found one that does everything, and I'm very happy with it. It's probably the easiest thing to program, and it also has Bluetooth. Besides, I forget what the other one's called that the TVs use, but it also has Bluetooth, which Fire Stick needs, and it's called the Sofa Baton, SOFABOTBATON. And I got rid of all my other remotes. I only use that for everything: my DVR, my Fire Stick, the smart TV, and it's programmable. And what's nice about it, it doesn't have that many keys, but it allows you to go in and change any key to any command. And if you can't, two other things is, if you can't find the key that you need, you can just put the two remotes to each other, and it will get that code. And the company also swears on a Bible, which I haven't been able to do because I haven't found a key that it didn't do, that if you can't do it, you can call them and they will program it for you. So
that's interesting. That means that you have what the computer gurus would call a Turing complete remote control.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to add? I have a couple of closing comments, if not.
Yeah, I have one quick comment for
Sure.
Griff with the internet connection. I don't use Wi-Fi on my computer. I'm directly connected to the router. And even then, I notice every now and then I'll get a note from a message on Zoom, this is unstable internet. So it's something that's inherent in the system, that it's not necessarily your computer.
Okay, that's a good point. I also have my main computer connected directly, but I do Zoom from my iPad now and then, and I haven't had much issue from that from other parts of the house. But you're right that the direct connection is probably helps a lot. Okay, John, thank you very much. I didn't know you were going to do as much research as you ended up having to do, but I guess you enjoy it. So, that's a good thing. We really appreciate you spending the time and being so willing to give us these tutorials, if you will.
Well, yes, I really learn a lot. Like, I found out a bunch of things, especially that I didn't realize that a lot of these services offer the cloud recording. That was a big one for me.
Okay. Well, that's one way when you dig into it, you find those things out. But thank you ever so much, and we'll be sure to call on you again when
All righty.
it comes up.
Tom, I have a suggestion for John and people like John. I have an alternative home up in Massachusetts, and I cut the cable completely. And this is what I did. I got DirecTV.
Okay,
DirecTV, you can unsubscribe 6 months of the year and pay nothing. Okay, that's number one. Also, I have Spectrum, so I get streaming, and I'm only there 5 months a year, so you don't actually have to pay if you're not there. So let's assume I don't have the DirecTV on. I have all the streaming through the internet. So as long as I have a computer, I can see almost anything. And DirecTV is, there's some really good deals, like as low as $32 a month. And you don't get all the channels, but you get all the locals and some other stuff. So I did it 20 years ago. I said, I'm not going with the cable that I have in Westfield. However, like most of us, I pay a lot here.
yeah, no, it's, it
I
ends
have
up
$200 a month.
and it's very time consuming to figure out the right choice for you. And it's also, it
Oh, yeah.
takes quite a bit of effort and work, and there are, idiosyncrasies that come up, and it's hard to find. I'm glad, John, you found a universal remote that works for you now, but just like how long it took to find that, when you go to try these services, you end up spending a lot of time exploring them, which is good if that's what you really want to do. Almost all the time you find that it doesn't do at least something that you want to do, and you have to supplement it with something else. So it's a complicated choice that is time consuming to figure out.
Yeah, one of the things I figured out was with DirecTV, their DVR service is only like $10 a month,
Okay,
whereas the cables are $20 a month.
yeah,
So that was one way. I can record some of the new devices that they're offering as a free upgrade. Can record up to 4 to 6 programs at a time. So not that you need it. So they offer some pretty people who only need a house, who need it part-time.
yeah, everybody has a second home. That sounds like something worth exploring if that's.
Yeah, it depends on what you watch and what you like, and if you use your streaming and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and then
One thing I believe is that AT&T was giving you DirecTV if you bought their cell phone and 5G, and you'd be able to watch the DirecTV on your cell phone and then mirror it to a TV set.
Yeah, that's a good idea, except AT&T, where I am in Massachusetts, doesn't work. So yeah, I have DirecTV, but yeah, I don't get the deal. I had no phone. That was the other thing. I just dropped phone service completely. So I only have cell phone. I don't have landline.
landlines, okay.
Oh, Mitch asked a question about the great courses. And he said he saw that there was a whole bunch of different prices for the offerings. What I was explaining, which I may not have come across, is it's called Great Courses Plus. And what that does is you can watch anything for that $10 price a month.
Anything and as many as you want, right?
As many as you want. Sometimes I'm watching 3 or 4 at the same time.
I remember you brought that up. You were on a trial of that maybe a year ago or so ago. And
Right.
At that point in time, I couldn't find it, but subsequent to that, I found it, but I haven't yet subscribed. But when I have more time, if ever, I will.
There's never time.
Yeah, that's it. I keep running out of time. There's too many things I'd like to do. I don't have enough time to do them.
And don't forget the Summit Library has Canopy, which is a service which allows you to stream some of the great courses that they have.
Okay. Well, I used to take, years ago, I used to take them out of the library and just watch the DVDs or the CDs or whatever on my TV, which worked.
Mhm.
But anyway, so the next scheduled tug meeting will be the end of June, the 4th, I think it's the 22nd. I'm not positive of that date, but for that one, quarterly, we decided to do an issue session where anybody who has anything they want to talk about, even if we've talked about it before, or wants to ask for advice, that's what we would cover at that time. And I'd also like to use that session to plan for what topics we're going to cover in the second half of this year. I have some that I have planned and have speakers for, but I just want to brainstorm about what else would be useful for us to do. I mean, like periodically we cover password managers. Is that something, anything along those lines? I'm not suggesting that being one, but anything along those lines that you think we'd want to do. If you're on, please bring it up when we meet again, and we'll see if we can't get it arranged. Otherwise, John, again, thank you very much, and outstanding job. And I look forward to seeing you guys. I'll be on the Bill Tittle one next week, but I'll look forward to seeing all of you tuggers who are not going to the CRISPR discussion in a month. And I'll see you at Old Guard at regular times. Thank you all. It's all for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
Yep.
Tom.
You're welcome.
Hey, Tom, quick question. Is yours a 4K? Is it a newer Roku stick?
Yeah, I just got it. I got it 6 months or so ago, so I guess so.
Because you should be able to mirror with AirPlay, mirror your Apple
Yes.
computer to this TV screen.
Well, because I have an HDMI cable, and probably 5 years or so ago, I started doing things on my iPad and then mirroring them to the TV via the cable. So that still might, it would cut the cable, but I have the cable and it's so easy to do. And it's right there by the TV that I have chosen to do that. So I haven't explored the Roku options for that.
Yeah, like at today's meeting, I had it on the big screen TV.
Okay.
As opposed to the small laptop.
Yeah, you can see everybody a lot better on that. If Kathy and I want to watch something together rather than do it on the iPad, when I do it on the iPad, if it's a lecture or whatever, we put it on the TV and then we all see it. Or in fact, I'm a Paper Mill subscriber and also a Shakespeare Theater subscriber, and they've run into all sorts of trouble, but they've been doing their things via internet, remote. And so because I already had paid for those things, we watch those mirrored to the big TV.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okie doke.
I'm going to sign off. George, I'll call you in a couple days and we can talk about planning for the second half of this year, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Talk
So
to you
long,
soon.
everybody.
Bye.